Hi, everyone. Welcome to another amazing topic of conversation. I want to thank my sponsors, the Health Channel and Alexa's Workspace. So please sign up for their newsletters and to get any information. Today, we're talking from someone that has been raised by a family that blended because they were kicked out of their homelands. And with everything that is happening, I think it's important that we share the conversations in another perspective. So, Sarah, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
You were telling me that your father is Palestinian and your mother is Cuban.
Yes, my father is from Jerusalem originally, and my mother is from Santiago de Cuba.
And you're born in the US.
And I'm born in New Jersey, USA.
So tell me a little bit about how you were raised.
Sure. So we were raised very closely with my Cuban side of the family as they lived about half hour away from us. And we were also raised spending our summers in Amman, Jordan, where my father's family lived. My father was raised in Saudi Arabia and came to America when he was 18, eventually met my mom and got married. They had us 3 children, myself and 2 brothers. And so we were raised with a beautiful and diverse, yet so similar in culture and values, with both grandparents not speaking English. So we learned Spanish and we learned Arabic, all just hand in hand.
So you could communicate with them.
Yes, we were able to communicate with them. It was very important to our parents. Family is everything. It is the most valuable. And so we were raised very family oriented, very close with our families, both alike.
Your brothers are also in the US?
Yes, they're also both in New Jersey.
Okay.
I suppose it's worth saying I graduated from college and then got a job at a international English school in Bahrain where I worked. And then upon leaving, returning to the States, I met my husband on the airplane. We had a mutual stop in Jordan. My husband is from Israel. He is Arab Israeli. He is from what they call the 1948ers.
Okay, so
And
he is an Arab living in Israel.
he's an Israeli citizen and he is Palestinian.
Okay. But now but you guys live in the States. So
Yes,
did you
we
ever
got
live in Israel?
I got married. I had my wedding on a kibbutz in Israel, and I lived there for 2 years before coming back to the States. And then we've been back to the States for about 7 years now.
So I know that you have a very special message.
Yes.
I know that with what's going on, it's totally undescribable.
That's essentially it. There are actually no words in all of the beautiful languages. There are no words to describe the feeling of what is happening today and right now, and what's been happening, and how we are living it today.
Do you have family in Gaza at this moment?
I would like to say yes, absolutely, because the entire Palestinian nation would be considered my family.
Are they okay?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. They are not okay, and they have not been okay. We have friends that have lost an innumerous amount of family members. It is happening by the dozens, by the hour. It it has been happening for over 75 years. However, and I've only been around 35 of those years, and so I hear. I'm no expert, but and no historian, but so I hear this is one of the worst of the worst. And I think we can all agree. I mean, this has impacted us worldwide at this point. Uh, I'm
I think we can both agree that it's not the Palestinian people, that it's a terrorist organization that does not represent who the Palestinian people are.
I think that that is a bit of a complicated statement because this goes far beyond and way before October 7th, the Hamas attack on Israel. I think that it has to be mentioned, and the issue is that no one really knows. It is just starting to get more exposed on the oppression that has been for 75 years. And so this isn't about a random attack. It is not a random attack. I think that we have to focus on, yes, what happened was absolutely horrific, without a doubt. But we have to focus on the crisis and the current massacres and genocide occurring right now.
When your husband was living in Israel, in the kibbutz, he was living like all the other Israelis.
So we got married on a kibbutz run by Jewish people, but we live they live in a place called Aira, and this is an Arab village. The Arabs who are granted this Israeli citizenship are still very much segregated and discriminated against. And I lived that. That isn't something I've been told.
That is why you left.
I lived that. And I have gone and asked for permission for residency. They asked my religion, and because I am Muslim, they would not grant me anything. I witnessed firsthand what it was like to have basic human rights stripped from you solely because of your origin. That happened to me multiple times by Israeli authorities. And I can say that we can't speak about the entire Israeli nation, and certainly not the Jewish nation, as if they're all one and the same, because they're not. Yeah, and we can bring proof, and there is proof to show how much of the true Jewish faith is standing up for what is simply right. It's so obvious. What we can't solve anything. We will not gain peace without liberation. How do we gain the liberation that is needed for these people who have been stripped of that?
Your mind, what, like in an ideal world, let's say you and I can fix the whole world today. That would be like my wish, but that's not reality, right? But in your mind, what would be the ideal thing, or what would you say that the Palestinian people need liberation?
I will say this, I think that the wrong people are in power. The wrong people are in power. And if you're asking the question of how can we come to terms where everyone is happy? We are certainly looking for a miracle, if we are looking for that to happen. And I think that perhaps there's some common grounds that the people can come to. But in order for that to happen, I would say that whoever is making these big decisions, which is certainly not me and you know, whoever is making these big decisions, um, whoever's making those decisions right now, they're not the right people.
We need to be more humanitarian.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. The whole world is crying genocide. The same today because it is happening live. The same way I cry with my friend Bonnie Glogover because her father was a Holocaust survivor. I respect that. I honor that. I wish for never again, the same way the Jewish people wish never again. We wish never again. Why and how are we here right now? How is this happening? I'm grateful for this opportunity with you. I am grateful for people like Bonnie Glogover. I am grateful for so many of these people who are literally and so sadly risking their lives just because they're speaking up for what's right. But here we are. It comes at a high cost and it's sad. But the one thing I know is that as a human, I will not just sit in silence when anybody's voice is being silenced, or at worst, at the very worst case, that they be expelled as a nation. And that is what we are witnessing right now.
Are you afraid right now as a Palestinian living in the US? Are you scared?
100%. We know that it's dangerous. We know that it's dangerous. People have already been assaulted and murdered. A 6-year-old boy in Chicago, Illinois, was murdered by his landlord.
I know, and the same on the other side, the leader of a synagogue was murdered.
Yes, I saw that. A 40-year-old woman. I did see that. There was a man who shot at Palestinians. He was detained in a protest in Chicago as well, I believe. There's outrage, in New York, and I know that the same thing is probably happening, on the other end, onto the other people, but that's like a whole nother problem on its own, and that stems from the propaganda, the hate, the brainwashing.
I think that the real common denominator is hate. That we need to
Absolutely.
come close together and not hate. How do we do that? I don't know. I think that by educating the people, by coming together, do you think a two-state solution would work?
I think that that's a very loaded and difficult question. A two-state solution. I don't think that the people who have created Israel and settled, and all these people that have come and settled unlawfully, I don't think that that's what they're looking for. And at the end of the day, when you have, let's be realistic, when you have uh, any amount of people that want to step foot on Israel's land, soil, and say, hello, I'm Jewish today, give me birthright and give them many things, like a job, a home, citizenship, because they're Jewish, is there really enough room for everybody? Like, what land, in what world do we live? In what land? It kind of sounds like La La Land a little bit, almost like everybody is, anyone's welcome as long as you come and you label it like this and you support our democracy. So can that work?
Remember that Israel was created after the Holocaust, that the Jewish
And
people did not have anywhere to go. So it was really created.
Absolutely. And I wish, so here's the thing, we're talking way back when none of us were there. And I'm sure that there are historians that can have a much better opinion on this. But if you're asking me as like from a very ignorant perspective, but just logical as I can
and as
assume.
a third generation.
Yes. And what I want to say is, and I've said this to the older generations and our parents and stuff, I'm like, well, why couldn't there have been peace from the beginning? Because we're all so welcoming, and especially as Arabs, we are like, come into our home. Like, no one needs to knock. It's almost like rude. Don't knock, just come in.
One of the big questions that I've been asking myself since all this, for example, when when Cuba, and from the other side of your family, when Castro came into power and everybody left, like the US took a lot of the Cubans. I know that other Latin countries took a lot of the Cubans.
Mm-hmm.
But I've seen that a lot of the Arab countries do not take in the Palestinians. It's like Egypt now didn't want to open the border to take the Palestinians out. So I go like, okay, Colombia opened the door to take all the Venezuelans. They took 2 million. Poland opened its doors to take the Ukrainians when Putin started.
But I think you would be allowing, I think at that point you would be allowing this extremist party, this extreme party, to do precisely what they want to do, which is just wipe out. I mean, I have seen things online, like people are already creating the map as to what they would like Gaza to become. They're calling it, they want it to be the new Disneyland. It's unbelievable to see and read. So why do we need other countries to take in people who have done nothing but been on their own land?
No, it's exactly the same as in Cuba. That a dictator came in and either you stay. It's like if Hamas is.
But this is a bit different because
if Hamas is in charge of that side of the story, you can choose. Like you were treated incorrectly at the kibbutz, you guys chose to leave to the US, right? I had to come to the US from Colombia as well because of security measures when
But that is the same people doing unto their own people. These are a foreign people that took over and decided that the people that were originally on their land are now the lower class, and we are going to treat them as that. Do you see the difference?
Yes, I know.
Because
they both feel that they're both in the same land.
So, but you cannot erase history or deny the people that were born on that land. And the people that were born on that land come from a Muslim, Christian, and Jewish backgrounds. And you just said it yourself.
Correct. Is that three? It's the three. On the contrary,
absolutely.
And if you want to go back, we're cousins. You really want to go back to the Bible times.
Right. So there's no, and you said it yourself, after the Holocaust, people didn't have anywhere to go. So yeah, they can be wherever there is a place for them peacefully, correct? They shouldn't have to rob and kill for the land. So it's a little bit different than a country turning communist all of a sudden.
There is where we disagree, because when Israel was created, the Jewish people went there without robbing. It was a state. So that's where I think that the solution would be, like dividing the land, and you do, guys, what you want to do, you do the other, and just live in peace. The problem, I think, was that you and I can live together. We can be neighbors and we can live together. But if the top person that is the one governing one side, and their whole mission is to eradicate Israel from the map, then it's totally difficult. And I think that we can both agree that the top people that are handling are not doing a good job.
Well, yes, and I think that that's been the problem ever since Israel was made a state in 1948. I think that, you know, the person who created Zionism, Zion Herzl, I believe was his name, he is the one that came and essentially we believe he stole the land. Otherwise, why would we be here today? Why is it that so many people still until this day? So we can disagree on the history, perhaps.
We can disagree on the history. We can agree on the peaceful.
But we can agree that what has been happening and what is continuing to happen today, worse than ever, is the genocide of the Palestinian people. There has been why are we constantly at war if the people who intended to come in to begin with?
The last war was 50 years ago. This genocide, the terrorism, was literally on the 50th anniversary of the Yom Kippur War. This was, I think
that there's a lot of,
when everybody was at a synagogue, when the kibbutz were functioning okay, and they
I think that I think 50 years ago was absolutely not the last war. I think that there's a lot of lacking information that I'm happy to provide to you on the daily
the attacks
suffering
are the daily suffering, but what's happening now, and I have to say that yes, that there are, and let me say this as nice as I can, because this is my way of thinking, and with no disrespect to anyone. But the way I see it is that a terrorist attack to an unprovoked civilians, where women, children were raped, where children were decapitated, 40 babies were decapitated.
There is no proof until today, and I can prove to
there
you
is proof, and there is proof, and unfortunately, a friend of the family was the one that asked to identify the babies so that the parents would not get to see them with DNA. So I think that there's a lot of things that we are seeing different, but yes, there were the people butchered and raped in the music festival, with videos that mothers have seen their daughters raped.
Yes, something that we've seen over the past 75 years done unto Palestinians by the IDF soldiers, and there's plenty of proof over the years of that as well. And that's something that goes constantly on.
Why for the Israelis is so important one life, that there were 1,000 prisoners of war traded for one soldier. And the same as the Hamas, the leader, his leader was one of the liberated prisoners. And his son is speaking out, saying, no, the only thing that they want is to eradicate Israel. They
Absolutely not. I mean, and how could they be afraid of such a small army who has not a quarter of the power that they have? It
no,
sounds
because
funny
they're
because
backed by Iran and they're
I
backed by Lebanon.
yeah,
So
I find that I find that the math is just not adding up. And you're talking about, we can all condemn what happened in Israel on October 7th, but what about the 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, and 18th, with the thousands of children that have been
because
murdered?
Hamas is hiding behind the children.
They are
They
absolute.
don't even
I
know
mean,
where they have
it's
200 civilians
it sounds like you're
kidnapped.
justifying the murder of 6,000
No,
people
I'm not
because
justifying the
of, and
murder of
yeah,
anyone, of anyone. Believe me. That is the last thing, and that's what I wanted to say.
I
That
don't think they're that much of a threat that you would need to go and wipe out. I mean, what about an entire population, 2 million people who have been cut off for 2 weeks from water, from food, from electricity, from fuel? The babies have all died.
but when you are afraid of your neighbor, when you have tunnels going under your house, and you don't know who is inside your house because of all the people that infiltrated before the attack. And I'm not justifying anything because one life for me is sacred. But when you have someone that you don't know where they are and the tunnels are right under your bed, imagine going to bed with your daughters and knowing that under your house there's a tunnel and there's someone that can come up any moment and kill you guys. You live in fear all the time. It's
I,
so, I
I
don't
don't
know.
think that, yeah, I've not seen the proof of that, and I still don't find that
There was
anything to
yesterday
be
the proof of the
compared to
Hamas that
when these people are granted freedom in their own country and a proper and fair education and lifestyles, as opposed to the people in Gaza and the West Bank who are not granted even to go out and breathe outside of their own
but
territory.
so wait, your mom left Cuba. And I imagine that if Castro was not in power, she would have never left Cuba, right? She would have
Sure.
still be there. I would have never left Colombia if it wasn't because of the violence, the kidnapping, and the bombings. And we're all here because we left our countries. We made a decision to leave where we were born and raised
You
for
also
a
had the
better life.
option. You had the option. Palestinians do not have the option.
But Palestinians have the option to go to any of the 6 Arab countries surrounding everything. There's
And
Egypt,
that's
Lebanon, there's Iran, there's Syria. They all speak
they
Arabic.
they cannot leave Gaza. They have zero permission to leave. So that's false information, number one. Number two, how lovely would it be for someone on your side, with all due respect, for all the Palestinians to go and migrate to other countries so that the people who want that land can have it as they
No, I'm
wish?
not saying that, but I'm saying the people that are not safe and they want to. I left because I couldn't take it anymore. The bombs were random.
Yes,
And kidnappings were random. So it
I
isn't
agree. And
that
I
you
think,
leave and
yeah.
they take over. No, it's about security. But what I mean is that I know we can go back and forth. We can go
It's
back and
funny that
forth.
you say it's about security, and the reason Israel is so secure is thanks to the United States of America.
No, I think it's self-preservation after the Holocaust. I think it's about after a race that was when Hitler took power, he wanted to eliminate the race, and 6 million were killed just because they were Jewish. Even if they could trace second generation, they wanted to eliminate it.
And we are
I
witnessing
remember,
we are now witnessing terrorists in the United States of America killing children because
yeah,
they are
because
Muslim.
they are Muslims, or the other way around because they're Jewish. So,
And thing is happening unto 2.3 million people in Gaza. I don't even think
so
that's enough more, you know,
I
like
think that we can literally agree that if we can love each other more than we hate each other, we can have a peaceful world.
and I think that's the root of all of this is the amount of hate that exists. I don't know, you know, I don't know if the hate, I mean, again, we're talking about something we are so helpless in that these people who are in power are clearly um they are clearly evil. When it comes to us, it's like I can no longer grasp if the love is more than the hate or the other way around. All I know is there is not enough love. And somehow I feel that as time goes on, hate is growing. I think that it comes from so many different sources. It's like we'd have to start a worldwide university called Human University.
Or empathy. More than human empathy for
Compassion.
each
I
other.
mean,
And
but
compassion.
doesn't that tie into who we are? Like as a human, we are
No, because,
supposed
for
to.
example,
Mhm.
you have seen some things that you told me there's no proof, and I've seen some
Mhm.
things that I don't know how to prove them. So
Yeah,
I think social media literally is telling you what you want to hear and telling me what I want to hear. And I think that that is what we need to literally do a
absolutely.
reset, do a reset. And instead of projecting violence, I think we need to be more empathetic.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And I think it's worth mentioning that what we see live, which is in fact very much it's a live resource. So there it's not something that was written, it is live footage of for example, I'll give two examples. Hamas has returned multiple hostages.
Four. It has returned four.
Actually, no more than that, because
No,
they're not.
four out of
No,
210,
yeah, they.
212. No, four. That's
Yeah,
it.
no, they have returned more actually. A mother and two children, a mother and daughter, and the two elderly ladies. So
No,
that is
no, a
already
mother
more
and two
than four.
children. No,
There is a foot. I can send you the footage of the woman and the two
no,
children being
that's fine.
released.
Out of the 200 and something that are still,
Right. And due to that, 6,000 people have died in Gaza. But what I want to say is that they have released these hostages and these hostages have gone unharmed. And they are saying how well they were treated under the care of
yeah, but
Hamas.
they were kidnapped. They were
Yes,
kidnapped in their
horrible.
own.
Absolutely horrible. I can't
Correct. And
imagine
the
what
last
people
time
were
they
feeling.
kidnapped one soldier, they asked for 1,000 prisoners, and the one of the
I
1,000
can't
is the one. So
the one thing that we can agree on is that for sure
this is not the way.
we don't know why this happened. And I can sit here and tell you that is horrific. When I saw those old women, I saw my grandmother. And so I can sympathize 1,000%. But that does not, you know,
No, no,
how
I
could
get
that
it.
be a lack of understanding for the
No,
other
no,
side?
and I understand, and
Yeah,
a child is a child. Like if I could go and give water,
absolutely.
and if I could go and get on a plane, believe me, I would do it.
And so when we talk about that and empathy, and how we can, as our own person, because everyone has to heal from within, you know, and needs to figure it out. And and we should be here for each other. And so with that said, one thing that I have learned from this experience, which is one of the worst things that I've ever had to endure at this point, it has taught me what is strength and what is hope. And the Palestinian people have taught us that with everything that they have endured from the minute that they breathe into this world until they die, or even until their entire world is destroyed. Their homes and their family and their futures destroyed, yet they're still standing and they're saying, thank you, God. And they still have hope.
And I
They
think
still have hope,
that
and there's no aggression from them.
we
There's no
can
violence
agree.
from them.
We can totally agree that one of the thing is resilience, because when the Holocaust happened, we said never again.
Absolutely.
And I think that we can both learn that. And I think the message for everyone from both of us is hope for peace. I think that we can agree, both of us, on that. How?
Yeah.
I have no clue. I wish I had the clue, and I wish I could do, and I know that coming from where you are, I think you want the same, that there will be peace and we can live.
I think that you're right. Yeah. There's definitely no easy answer or solution. But I think
no
that
easy answer, but what you said, we're here for each other. We're in a country that took us in, your family, my family, and
absolutely.
this is a melting pot from every single corner of where you stand and I stand. And hopefully this is the message that we send everyone, that we can live together, no matter what religion, what country, or how we think. We need to live in peace.
I think we are right, and we're blessed, and I'm very grateful to have this freedom and this opportunity and this conversation with you. I'm grateful for, and I think that
I'm really
this is a
grateful
start
for this too. I'm going to tell you something that I explained to my grandkids one time. I know. Can you see my hand?
Yes.
Okay. You see how I have a crooked finger? And the other one is little. The other one is straight. This one is crooked. This one is crooked. And this one, right? But when they fold, they're all the same. They're the same size. They're the same color. And they're all equal. And that is my wish for everyone. That when we sit at a table, we're all the same.
Mm.
And hopefully, if we ever meet, or hopefully for my next conversation, this nightmare is behind us and we can live in peace. So thank you, everyone. And above all, stay safe.
Thank you, Gladys.